You'd never guess that Paris Fashion Week, this event driving fashion lovers worldwide crazy, actually originated from an economic war 200 years ago, launched by none other than Napoleon. Late 18th century France had just endured the bloody baptism of the Great Revolution. Nobles were sent to the guillotine. The luxurious palace of Versailles stood empty. Once prosperous silk, lace, and jewelry industries had fallen into desperate straits. Thousands of craftsmen lost jobs. Paris fashion workshops had no customers at all. What Napoleon inherited was a France with a devastated and declining economy. But this Corsican-born man saw not crises, but opportunity in the devastation. He keenly realized that France's greatest advantage wasn't in the size of its armies, but in those incomparable handicraft traditions that no other nation could match. Silk weavers, jewelers, tailors, their skills were wealth other European nations couldn't replicate. In 1799, Napoleon, who just seized power, made a decision everyone thought was strange. Instead of reorganizing armies first, he summoned all Paris fashion designers and craftsmen in a small Tuileries palace room. The future emperor proposed his crazy plan to tailors and weavers. "I want all of Europe to wear clothes made in France," he declared boldly. These craftsmen surely thought this young general had lost his mind completely. European nations had traditional clothing, English wool, Italian silk, established traditions. Germans had their leather. Why would anyone want to wear French clothing instead? Napoleon's answer was simple. We'll make French fashion a symbol of social status. He started with his court, mandating all nobles entering court wear French designer clothing. Not only that, he detailed specific dress requirements for different occasions. What gowns for formal dinners, what uniforms for daily meetings, all specified. Even color combinations had strict standards that must be followed precisely. More cleverly, Napoleon made his wife Josephine the first French fashion spokesperson. Josephine was already a fashion expert, her clothing taste famous throughout Europe. Napoleon set huge clothing budgets for her. Josephine ordered dozens of new outfits monthly. Every public appearance required wearing different French designs. Constant variety. Soon European noble ladies discovered a problem. Josephine was always the most elegant woman. Her gowns were always more exquisite. Her jewelry combinations always more clever. Her overall styling always drew more attention, creating visual gap that alarmed competing ladies. Napoleon seized this psychology, deliberately inviting foreign nobles to Paris diplomatic events. These foreign nobles arrived in Paris to witness an unprecedented fashion world. French designers created entirely new clothing styles, perfectly blending classical elegance with modern simplicity. More importantly, Napoleon created an entirely new concept: quarterly fashion presentations. Designers must launch new collections quarterly with grand Paris shows. Modern Fashion Week's origin. These fashion shows weren't simple commercial events, but carefully designed political instruments. Napoleon ensured European diplomats and nobles received invitations to witness French fashion innovation firsthand. Foreign nobles returning home naturally described the amazing clothing they witnessed in Paris. Word-of-mouth effects were amazing. Soon wearing French fashion became European high society's symbol. If you didn't wear Parisian clothing at social events, you'd be considered outdated and tasteless. This social pressure forced European nobles to order clothing from France out of necessity. Napoleon adopted even cleverer strategies. He didn't simply sell French clothing to foreigners. Instead, he established a complete fashion industry chain with total French control. France exported not just clothes, but fabrics, patterns, techniques, even French tailors abroad. Thus, even locally made clothing used French materials and French techniques exclusively. Most cleverly, Napoleon directly linked fashion with political status and diplomatic power. When signing diplomatic agreements, he often added seemingly unimportant trade clauses to treaties, like reducing French textile import tariffs or allowing French merchants to open fashion stores. These clauses seemed like minor commercial benefits, but paved the way for French fashion expansion. More cleverly still, Napoleon leveraged women's influence within aristocratic society structures. He knew political decisions came from men, but their consumption choices were influenced by wives. So he specifically designed a complete marketing strategy targeting female consumers exclusively. French designers began creating clothing styles named after different European regions, like Vienna-style evening gowns, Berlin-style daily wear, London-style riding outfits. Though named after foreign cities, all design and production was completed entirely in Paris. This made foreign nobles feel respected while cleverly linking French fashion to European cultures. Economic effects were remarkable. By 1810, French textile exports tripled pre-revolution levels. Thousands of French workers found jobs again. Paris fashion workshops flourished once more. More importantly, fashion exports provided massive foreign currency for Napoleon's military expansion funding. But Napoleon's fashion strategy wasn't just for money. He had deeper political considerations. By having European nobles wear French fashion, he was actually conducting cultural conquest. When Prussian nobles wore Paris-designed clothing, when Austrian ladies used French cosmetics, when Russian dukes wore French accessories, French culture subtly influenced these nations' elites. This cultural influence played crucial roles in political negotiations and diplomatic power dynamics. When Napoleon negotiated with foreign diplomats, they wore French clothing, used French etiquette. Even speech patterns influenced by French culture naturally translated into political discourse power. Napoleon also creatively exploited fashion's seasonal characteristics for sustained consumer demand. He had designers launch new designs quarterly, deliberately making previous styles quickly outdated. Thus, European nobles, wanting fashion leadership, had to continuously order new French clothing. This planned fashion rotation created sustainable consumer demand, ensuring stable French export growth. More interestingly, Napoleon also used his military expansion to promote French fashion globally. When French armies conquered new regions, they brought not just soldiers but French tailors and designers. These fashion professionals established workshops in occupied areas, serving local nobles French styles. This way, French fashion influence expanded across entire Europe with Napoleon's conquest pace. Even after Napoleon's final defeat, the fashion system he created didn't disappear. Instead, it became the foundation of the entire modern fashion industry structure. Paris, as world fashion capital status, quarterly fashion show traditions, all from this. Fashion status connections, brand marketing concepts, features we take for granted today, all can be traced back to that economic warfare during Napoleon's era. Today, walking down Paris Champs-Élysées, seeing luxury stores and bustling fashion enthusiasts, few people realize this all originated from a Corsican man's economic strategy 200 years ago. Napoleon conquered European land through military, but conquered European hearts through fashion. And this conquest's influence has continued persistently until today, shaping our world. It shaped the entire modern fashion industry structure, from business models to consumer psychology. So, next time you're immersed in this ocean of fashion, captivated by the beauty before you, remember, behind it all lies the century-spanning design of a single genius. The borders of his military empire have long turned to dust, but the invisible empire, built on silk and lace, has never faded. Who would think the most lasting way to conquer the world isn't swords, but fashion and beauty?